Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mason, and today I'm going to be wrapping up my studies with the Greeks over the holidays. First of all, I went ahead and completed Homer's Iliad. Happy to finally have that under my belt. The protagonist, Achilles, spends so much of the story out of the fight, and so much of the time is devoted to trying to convince him to participate. After this long-standing feud, really this sort of hubris on Achilles' part that he feels Agamemnon has slighted him. Agamemnon being the king of the Greeks, and until this slight to his honor really is recompensed, Achilles will not participate. Ultimately, it's primarily an internal conflict, a conflict really over whether to take part at all in the events that are unfolding around these characters, even though they have the potential to make a significant difference. So, yeah, Homer is saying something a little more interesting than just talking about the glory of warfare. He's also talking about why one of these characters legitimately might not want to participate, even if their reasons are fundamentally personal. So, before I started Homer's Odyssey, I did take a look at the Oresteia, and when I was there with Agamemnon having in the backstory of the play sacrificed his own daughter in order to appease the gods, so the winds would carry the warships to Troy. And when he returns, of course, the murder is avenged by his own wife, Clytemnestra, who then murders him in recompense for the daughter and seizes control of Argos, the city of which he's king. Then her son comes to avenge his father, the blood debt involved with that, along with Electra, his sister. At any rate, Electra doesn't actually play all that large of a role. It's mainly Orestes, her brother, who wreaks revenge upon Clytemnestra and her protector, and then of course to evade incurring a blood debt himself, to avoid being killed in turn, he has to flee to Athens, and the goddess Athena herself intervenes and says, all right, instead of having vengeful murders over blood debts, we're going to have a trial and decide guilt or innocence based on a jury of one's peers. It's really sort of a foundation myth for the Athenian justice system. And this ties in rather nicely with the way the Odyssey starts off with an argument on Mount Olympus, of course, in which Odysseus' fate is being decided. This other hero who featured prominently mostly as a sort of advisor and trickster who has not managed to return home, unlike Agamemnon. Odysseus' wife waits for him patiently, despite a lot of pressure from these suitors who have moved into his home, and she's a bit of a trickster too, because Penelope, that's her name, is promising, all right, she'll accept that her husband must be dead and remarry one of these suitors just as soon as she finishes her weaving. But so she weaves this burial cloth every day, but unweaves it every night, and pulls this off. It continues for years before they begin to suspect what she's up to. And her son Telemachus kind of has to step into his father's shoes and try to get rid of these suitors. And so what I've read of the Odyssey so far, it's really just been the Telemachiad, the part of the story that deals with Telemachus, Odysseus' son, essentially trying to help his mother get rid of these suitors. And so his solution is to go in search of someone who can help him deal with his problem and perhaps give him an idea of where his missing father is. And that's been very interesting. It kind of ties in a little bit with what I've been reading, bit by bit, chapter by chapter in James Joyce's Ulysses. This has been really interesting read. It's been quite challenging at times. Thankfully, I've been listening to the Frank Delaney podcast, Rejoice, that kind of breaks the whole thing down, paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence, and looks at all the allusions, all the possible references Joyce might be making, a lot of which are to the Odyssey, for which the whole work is named, and roughly patterned. There is a Telemachiad, which is mainly what I've read in Ulysses so far as well, that roughly corresponds to this story about Telemachus searching for his lost father figure, essentially. And so the overlapping themes there, it seems like these would be good to finish reading together, Ulysses and the Odyssey. I just have to find time amidst all these other interesting works, because I've been picking up, as I study more of the Greek historians, that going straight through the histories, say for Herodotus, you're going to be missing a lot if you don't have context. So I listened to an audiobook abridgment called The Persian Wars, recounting only the more historical aspect of Herodotus, and kind of leaving out the mythological foundation chapters that he starts with. So to get a better overall idea of what's going on in the histories, I picked up this sort of analysis of Herodotus by James Rom. James Rom, yes, that's it. And he's basically telling you how to read Herodotus, because he's not quite a historian, but he's not quite just a storyteller either. He's sort of mixing the two roles, and sort of establishing some basis for historians like Thucydides to come along and work on a more clearly scientific basis, instead of the narrative origin that Herodotus establishes. And speaking of historians, I've also picked up from the library Xenophon's Expedition of Cyrus. I heard about this in an old video game, actually. I decided to treat myself for the holidays and go back to some nostalgic games from my childhood, and one of them was Age of Empires, this sort of ancient history game, well, loosely historical, at least, with missions vaguely based on mythical or historical events, and one of them was the Expedition of Cyrus. This, essentially group of Greek mercenaries who were hired to fight in Persia, and got trapped there and had to fight their way out to get home. And it makes for an interesting little narrative. It makes for an interesting mission in the game too. It's a bit challenging. A lot of those old games weren't very well balanced. In any case, the Xenophon. I mean, just look at that cover. That looks like that's going to be interesting, and it's not too big, so something I can get through a little more easily. I plan to do Thucydides at some point as well. It's in the Peloponnesian War, but I'm trying to go roughly, that basically chronologically through this. The various sort of works on ancient Greece that I was checking out over Christmas and the New Year. Anyway, thank you for watching. Feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it. I'd be happy if you subscribed. Any comments, any suggestions are welcome down below. And I hope you've all had a good holiday season. And until next time, take care.